What if one act of kindness could change everything? A child, lost in the streets of a big city, reaches out for help, but everyone walks by. But one man stops. And it's not just anyone, but Keanu Reeves himself, known for his modesty and kindness. What happens next shocks everyone. Keanu Reeves walked down the bustling streets of Los Angeles as the golden hues of the sunset painted the city in a warm glow. He had always loved these moments, simple, quiet walks where he could fade into the crowd, just another face in the city of dreams. Dressed in a worn hoodie and faded jeans, he was nearly unrecognizable. That was the way he preferred it. In this anonymity, he found solace. His day had been long, filled with meetings and commitments, but now, in this hour before nightfall, he was free. The scent of street food wafted through the air, mingling with the distant sounds of music and car horns. He adjusted the cap on his head and continued his slow pace, letting the rhythm of the city guide him. As he reached a quieter intersection near a row of small diners and convenience stores, something caught his eye. A boy, no older than 9 or 10, sat hunched against a lamppost. His clothes were dirty, his hair unkempt, and in his small hands, he held a worn-out piece of cardboard. The message scrawled in black marker was simple but gut-wrenching. Just need a chance. Keanu stopped in his tracks. People passed the boy without so much as a glance, their eyes locked on their phones or their destinations, lost in their own worlds. He knew the feeling of being invisible, of being ignored. It was something he had felt deeply in his past, though in a different way. Slowly he approached. The boy didn't look up until Keanu crouched down beside him. Their eyes met, and in that instant, Keanu saw something that made his heart ache: fear, exhaustion, and something even deeper: resignation. "Hey there, buddy," Keanu said gently, his voice warm, but careful not to startle the boy. "What's your name?" The boy hesitated, gripping the cardboard tighter. His voice, when it came, was barely above a whisper. "Ethan." Keanu nodded. "Nice to meet you, Ethan. I am Keanu." The boy glanced at him, his expression skeptical. "Like the actor?" Keanu chuckled softly. "Yeah, like the actor." Ethan studied him for a moment, then shrugged, as if deciding it didn't really matter. He looked away, eyes scanning the street. "People don't stop," he murmured. "You did." Keanu's throat tightened. He sat down cross-legged on the sidewalk, mirroring the boy's position. "Why are you out here, Ethan?" The boy swallowed hard before answering. "My mom, she's gone." His fingers curled around the hem of his oversized sweater. "She got sick. My daddy couldn't handle it. He left one night and never came back." Keanu exhaled slowly. "How long have you been out here?" Ethan shrugged. "A while." A heavy silence settled between them. The city around them didn't pause, but in that moment it felt like it did. Keanu's mind raced. He knew he couldn't just walk away, pretend he hadn't seen this child in need. "You hungry?" Keanu finally asked. Ethan's eyes flickered with something close to hope. He nodded. Keanu stood and held out his hand. "Come on, let's get you something to eat." For a moment, Ethan hesitated. He had been burned before. People had offered help only to turn away at the last second. But something in Keanu's expression made him trust. Slowly, he reached up and took the man's hand. They walked to a nearby diner, the neon sign flickering against the encroaching night. Inside, it was warm, filled with the scent of burgers and fresh coffee. Keanu guided Ethan to a booth near the back, away from prying eyes. As they sat, a waitress approached, her gaze shifting between them. She arched an eyebrow at Ethan's tattered clothes, but said nothing. "What can I get you?" Keanu looked at Ethan. "Order whatever you want." The boy hesitated, then quietly said, "Just a cheeseburger." Keanu nodded. "Make that too. And some fries." The waitress scribbled it down and left. Ethan shifted uncomfortably in his seat and used to the kindness. "Why are you helping me?" he asked. Keanu leaned forward, resting his arms on the table. "Because I can. Because someone should." Ethan frowned. "Most people don't care." Keanu's gaze softened. "Most people don't know what to do. That doesn't mean they don't care." The food arrived, and Ethan wasted no time digging in. Keanu watched him, his heart aching. A child shouldn't have to fend for himself like this. He knew that tonight was just one meal, one moment. But he wasn't going to leave it at that. After they finished, Keanu pulled out his phone. I know some people who can help. A safe place where you'll have food, a bed, people who care. Would you be okay with that? Ethan froze, fear flickering in his eyes. Like a shelter? Keanu hesitated before shaking his head. Not a shelter, a real home. The boy's defenses wavered. You mean like a family? Keanu nodded. Yeah, like a family. Ethan stared at him, the weight of the offer settling in. Could he trust it? Could he believe in something better? For the first time in a long time, hope glimmered in his young eyes. Keanu knew this was just the beginning. But in that moment, he made a silent promise. Ethan wouldn't have to face the world alone anymore. And that promise? It was one Keanu Reeves intended to keep. Keanu watched as Ethan hesitantly took another bite of his burger, chewing slowly as if trying to savor each moment. The diner around them was bustling, the chatter of conversations and the clatter of plates filling the space with life. But for Keanu and Ethan, the rest of the world seemed to fade into the background. The weight of the boy's past, the uncertainty of his future, it all rested between them like an unspoken burden. Keanu leaned back in his seat, studying the young boy in front of him. You said you've been on your own for a while now. How have you been getting by? Ethan shrugged, keeping his gaze fixed on his food. Just figuring things out. Sometimes people give me money. Sometimes I find food left over somewhere. He hesitated before adding, other times, I just don't eat. Keanu's jaw clenched. The idea of a child navigating the unforgiving streets alone made his stomach turn. That's not how it should be, he said, his voice firm yet gentle. No kid should have to go through that. Ethan finally looked up, his eyes filled with something Keanu recognized all too well, doubt. People say that, but they don't really care. They see me, and they keep walking. Keanu exhaled sharply. He knew what it felt like to be unseen, to be overlooked by a world that was too busy to notice. But he wasn't about to walk away from Ethan. I care, he said simply. And I know some people who do too. Ethan studied him for a long moment, as if trying to decipher whether Keanu was just another person making empty promises. What kind of people? Keanu pulled out his phone. Good people. People who help kids like you get back on their feet, find a safe place to stay, maybe even a family. Ethan's fingers curled around the edge of the table. I don't need a family. I just need. He trailed off, struggling to find the words. You need to know you're not alone, Keanu finished for him. That someone's got your back. Ethan swallowed hard. Yeah, Keanu nodded. Then let's start there. He made a quick call to a close friend who ran a foundation for at-risk youth. Within minutes, he had arranged for Ethan to meet with someone who could help him. But as he ended the call, he saw the hesitation on Ethan's face. I don't know if I can trust them, Ethan admitted quietly. Keanu leaned forward. You don't have to trust them right away. Just give it a chance. I'll be there with you. Ethan thought for a moment before nodding slowly. Okay. They left the diner, stepping into the cool night air. Keanu led the way to his car, opening the door for Ethan. The boy hesitated again before getting in. As Keanu started the engine, he glanced over. One step at a time, that's all you have to take. Ethan nodded, gripping his backpack tightly. One step at a time, and with that, they drove off, heading toward what Keanu hoped would be the beginning of a new future for Ethan, a future where he no longer had to walk alone. Keanu drove through the quiet streets of Los Angeles, the hum of the engine filling the silence between him and Ethan. The boy sat in the passenger seat, his small hands gripping the straps of his backpack, as if it were the only thing grounding him. The city lights flickered against the windshield, casting a soft glow over Ethan's face, revealing his exhaustion and uncertainty. Keanu glanced at him briefly before returning his focus to the road. You okay? Ethan hesitated before giving a slight nod. Yeah, I think so. Good. We're almost there. They pulled up to a small, well-kept building with a warm, inviting light emanating from its windows. It wasn't flashy, but it radiated a sense of safety, something Ethan probably hadn't felt in a long time. As Keanu stepped out of the car, Ethan lingered inside, staring at the entrance with a mix of hesitation and curiosity. Keanu leaned down to his level. "I promised you wouldn't have to do this alone." "I meant it." Ethan let out a shaky breath before pushing the car door open. Keanu guided him inside, where a woman in her late 40s greeted them with a warm smile. Her name was Sarah, the director of the youth outreach program Keanu had contacted. She immediately knelt to Ethan's level, speaking in a gentle, reassuring tone. "Hey there, Ethan. It's nice to meet you. I heard you've had a rough time, but you don't have to worry anymore. We're here to help." Ethan shuffled uncomfortably, his eyes darting to Keanu for reassurance. Keanu nodded. "She's good people. You can trust her." Sarah led them into a cozy lounge where a few other kids sat watching television or reading. Ethan clung to his backpack, his posture stiff with anxiety. Sarah gestured toward a nearby couch. "You can sit wherever you like, Ethan. Would you like some hot chocolate?" The boy nodded cautiously, and Sarah disappeared into the kitchen. Keanu took a seat beside him, watching as he scanned the room. "It's not so bad, right?" Ethan exhaled. "I guess not." Sarah returned with a steaming mug, placing it gently in Ethan's hands. He took a careful sip, his shoulders slowly relaxing. The warmth seemed to seep into more than just his fingers. It was comfort, something he hadn't felt in too long. Keanu glanced at Sarah. "So, what's the next step?" She smiled. "Tonight he can stay here, get some rest. Tomorrow we'll talk more about what he needs. But for now, he just needs to know he's safe." Ethan looked up at them both, something shifting in his expression. Hope. It was fragile but real. Keanu patted his shoulder. "One step at a time, remember?" Ethan nodded, gripping the warm mug like it was an anchor. One step at a time. And for the first time in a long time, he believed it. Keanu sat in the quiet lounge of the youth shelter, watching as Ethan curled up on one of the worn but comfortable couches. The boy had finally let his guard down, exhaustion overtaking him after the longest day of his life. The shelter staff moved carefully around the room, keeping their voices low, understanding the fragility of the moment. Keanu stayed seated, his own thoughts heavy as he observed the boy's slow, even breathing. Sarah approached quietly, her voice gentle. "You did good today, Keanu. He trusts you." Keanu sighed, rubbing his hands together. "I just hope it's enough. He's been through a lot, more than any kid should have to deal with." Sarah nodded. "We'll make sure he gets the help he needs. But it's good that he has you in his corner." Keanu glanced back at Ethan. "I won't let him down." The next morning, Keanu arrived early. Ethan was already awake, sitting at the breakfast table with a bowl of cereal in front of him. He looked up when Keanu entered, his expression unreadable. "Morning," Keanu said, sliding into the seat across from him. Ethan stirred his cereal with his spoon. "Morning." Sarah joined them, setting down a few papers. "Ethan, we have a few options for you. We can get you into a foster home, or there are group homes where you'll be safe. We'll also keep looking for any relatives who might be able to take you in." Ethan stiffened. "I don't want to go to a foster home, and I don't have family." Keanu leaned forward. "No one's going to force you to do anything you don't want to do. We'll figure out what's best for you." Ethan hesitated before looking Keanu in the eyes. "Can I stay with you?" Keanu was caught off guard. He had expected resistance, fear, maybe even anger. But this was something else. He didn't answer right away, stealing a glance at Sarah, who gave him an encouraging nod. "We'd have to go through some legal steps," Sarah said. "But if that's what you want, Ethan, we can explore it." Ethan's gaze didn't waver. "I trust him." Keanu exhaled, a small smile forming. "Then let's make it happen." Over the next few days, Keanu met with lawyers, social workers, and advocates. He went through background checks, interviews, and home visits. Every step felt like an uphill battle, but he never wavered. He was determined to give Ethan the stability he had never known. Finally, the day came when the papers were signed. Ethan was no longer just another kid in the system. He had a home, a real one. That night, as they sat together in Keanu's apartment, Ethan looked around, his expression uncertain but hopeful. "So, this is home now?" Keanu smiled. "Yeah, this is home." Ethan let out a breath he didn't seem to realize he had been holding. He nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "Thanks." Keanu ruffled his hair. "We take care of each other, all right?" Ethan grinned for the first time in a long while. All right. And for the first time in his life, he truly believed it. Keanu sat on the couch, watching as Ethan flipped through the pages of a book he had picked out from the shelf. It had been a few weeks since Ethan had moved in, and the adjustment was still ongoing. The boy was still cautious, still hesitant at times, but Keanu had seen the small changes. The way Ethan had started to leave his bedroom door open a little more, how he no longer flinched at sudden noises, how he had started laughing at Keanu's corny jokes. Progress was slow, but it was there. One evening, Keanu found Ethan sitting on the apartment balcony, staring up at the night sky. He pulled up a chair next to him. "Penny for your thoughts?" he asked. Ethan sighed. "I don't know. It's weird, having a place, knowing I don't have to leave tomorrow or the next day." Keanu nodded. "I get it. Stability takes some getting used to." Ethan picked at the hem of his sweater. "I keep thinking it's going to end, like I'll wake up and have to go back to the streets again." Keanu reached over, resting a reassuring hand on the boy's shoulder. "That's not going to happen. Not while I'm around. You're safe here." Ethan gave him a small, grateful smile. "Thanks, Keanu." As the weeks passed, Ethan started opening up about his past. He told Keanu about the places he used to sleep, the people he used to avoid, the times he had gone days without food. Keanu listened, never interrupting, never judging. Just listening. One day, Keanu took Ethan to a community center where he had been volunteering. "I thought you might like to meet some people who've been through similar things," he said. Ethan hesitated, but eventually followed him inside. To Keanu's relief, Ethan connected with some of the kids there, even cracking jokes by the end of the afternoon. "That wasn't so bad," Ethan admitted as they walked back to the car. Keanu chuckled. "Told you." The final piece fell into place when Ethan started school. He had been reluctant at first, but with Keanu's encouragement, he agreed to give it a try. The first day was nerve-wracking, but when Ethan came home with a smile, Keanu knew they had turned a corner. One evening, Ethan sat across from Keanu at the dinner table. He said, hesitating for a moment. "I never really had a family. Not a real one." Keanu looked at him, his expression soft. "You do now." Ethan swallowed hard, nodding. "Yeah, you guess he do." And for the first time in his life, he allowed himself to believe it.